All right, let's break down what's going on with Supreme Court Justice Alito. So there was news from ProPublica, let's start with here, about some potential very questionable ethics decisions on the part of Alito. This really rhymes with some of the reporting they did also about Justice Thomas accepting gifts and luxury travel from Harlan Crow, Billionaire, who's also a major political donor. Put this up on the screen from ProPublica to show their report. The headline here is Justice Samuel Alito took a luxury fishing vacation with GOP billionaire who later had cases before the court. Let me read you the opening here, which contains all of the most relevant facts. So in early July 2008, Samuel Alito stood on a riverbank in a remote corner of Alaska. The Supreme Court justice was on vacation at a luxury fishing lodge that charged more than $1,000 a day. And after catching a king salmon nearly the size of his leg, Alito posed for a picture that you can see if you're watching this, guys. To his left, a man stood beaming. Paul Singer, a hedge fund billionaire, who has repeatedly asked the Supreme Court to rule in his favor in high-stakes business disputes. We're talking multi-billion dollars at stake in these disputes as well, guys. Singer was more than a fellow angler. He flew Alito to Alaska on a private jet. If the justice chartered the plane himself, the cost could have exceeded $100,000 just one way. In the years that followed, Singer's hedge fund came before the court at least 10 times. In cases where his role was often covered by the legal press and mainstream media. They go on to say Leonard Leo, the longtime leader of the Conservative Federalist Society, attended and helped organize that fishing vacation. Leo invited Singer to join and asked Singer if he and Alito could fly on the billionaire's jet. Leo also recently played an important role in the justice's confirmation to the court. Singer and the lodge owner were both major donors to Leo's political group. So you guys get the outlines here. Supreme Court justice invited on this luxury, all expenses paid fishing trip organized by Leonard Leo, who himself is a real political power player and has a lot of interest in the justices themselves and also the rulings that they make on the court. He strategically invites Paul Singer, who is this hedge fund billionaire, who again had multiple cases, including a big one dispute with the nation state of Argentina, where again there were billions of dollars at stake
like
here.
A debt thing.
Yeah. Alito doesn't recuse himself from any of this. And Singer provides him with space on his private jet to fly there again. That, would cost $100,000 in one direction. None of this was disclosed. And as I just mentioned, Alito did not recuse himself from any of the cases involving Singer. There's another layer to this story, though, which is that ProPublica, as typical journalist organization, news organization would do, reached out to Alito for comment. He didn't respond to them. Instead, he wrote up his response, which was published in the Wall Street Journal before the piece even dropped. Now, that raises a whole lot of questions about the Wall Street Journal just willing to be like his PR ally, because how could you fact check what he was saying when the piece hasn't even come out yet from ProPublica? But put this up on the screen. This was the justification from Alito. And the headline here, too, is wild. Justice Samuel Alito, ProPublica misleads its readers. The publication levels false charges about Supreme Court recusal, financial disclosures, and a 2008 fishing trip. Again, Wall Street Journal published this piece with that headline before the ProPublica piece even dropped. Basically, if you read through this, what you see is a lot of cope about well, the lodge wasn't really all that fancy. And, I interpreted, lots of other people have interpreted that private jet flights don't technically meet the definition of needing disclosure. Now, they just adjusted the ethics rules to make it quite clear that private jet rides do require disclosure. And a lot of experts say that the plain face reading, has always indicated that it needed to be disclosed. And he went on to say that he didn't think any reasonable person would think that these cozy relationships with Paul Singer would lead them to question his impartiality. And so that's why he didn't recuse. But there's a lot going on with this story here, Saagar.
I have spoken with a lot of friends who are, big defenders of Justice Alito here. And listen, the question there, someone was like, well, did it work? Did Singer get his way? It doesn't matter. It's about the appearance of corruption. And guess what? Why do we all understand that whenever it comes to congressional stock trades? But then it starts to get fuzzy whenever we're talking about our favorite presidential candidate, or maybe the guy who authored a decision that we really, really like before the Supreme Court, like Roe versus Wade. And I just think that if any reasonable person could see, this is outrageous. This is one of the most powerful people in the United States. He's flying in a lavish luxury vacation. Personally, I want to know why we're not indulging in this, Krystal. Like, why do we have better at, Krystal and I, we've been invited on some weird stuff. Every once in a while, someone very powerful wants to hang out with you, interview you. Like, oh, all expenses paid. And every time we're like, yeah, I just think it would look bad. It's like one of those where, we're not even government officials. We're just doing people bringing the news. Like, we're under no obligation. We're small business owners, and as private citizens, we could do it if we wanted to. There's nothing stopping it, but everyone understands there ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
Nope.
And specifically here's what I want to know. They were served wine that was costing $1,000 a bottle. First of all, I like wine every once in a while, on the rare occasions that I do drink. I have never had a bottle of wine more than like $100 or something like that. What is a $1,000 bottle of wine? It must be nice. To me.
To be honest with you, I bet it doesn't even.
I was gonna say
it's just like.
I bet it's just the flex. I bet it's just all about like, oh, this is 1968, Chateau, whatever.
Drink it because you can.
Yeah, drink it because you can. It's the flex on the part of the guy who's able to serve it. Maybe not necessarily about the taste. Question.
I typically drink $8 bottles of wine from Walmart. So not my area of expertise.
Look, on a broader level, this is so obvious. Like, in an era where we have bad institutional trust and we see constant corruption and cavorting of the elite and the policymakers, if you want to appear unimpeachable, then you have no right to be going on vacations like this, or what Clarence Thomas was doing as well. All of us understand that nobody gives you a private jet for free.
Right.
And that nobody is hanging out with you, getting invited on luxury vacations. And my response to them always is like, what do you expect them to just have no lives? No, you can leave, dude. Resign. You can live a very comfortable private retirement, and none of us would care.
It's not like they're getting paid like paupers either. Like, they make a hefty salary. Go on your own damn vacation and don't fly around on some hedge fund billionaire's private jet, secretly, by the way, where you don't even disclose it, who has business frequently, like routinely, before the court. What do you think people are going to think about that? Maybe my favorite justification he gave here, Saagar, in his little Wall Street Journal piece, was he said, as for the flight, Mr. Singer and others had already made arrangements to fly to Alaska when I was invited shortly before the event, and I was asked whether I would like to fly there in a seat that, as far as I'm aware, would have otherwise been vacant. It was my understanding this would not impose any extra cost on Mr. Singer.
All right, let's put it this way. I had somebody who used that excuse to me, and I go, hey man, I'm flying to India in 2 weeks. The jet's going there anyway. They still charge you for it. It's like, it's not.
Free seat. Who wants it?
Yeah.
Guys, come on.
That's not how business works. They still charge you for it, man. And, I just looked it up. Justice Alito has a net worth of $2.9 million to $7.4 million. So, listen, man, you can afford it. Like, you could
go fishing in West Virginia. You don't have to fly by private jet to Alaska.
Because if you can get to Alaska, there's a direct flight here from Washington to San Francisco. You could be in Alaska in 7 hours. When you're 2.9 to 7.4 million net worth, you could buy yourself a nice first-class ticket, and you could buy yourself a seat at this, quote, comfortable and rustic lodge. And it's like, it's so obvious that this is problematic. And, a lot of court defenders are very upset. They're like, oh, Clarence Thomas did nothing wrong. I'm like, he obviously did. Like, going on these crazy yacht vacations, having some dude buy his mom's house while she's still living in it.
Right.
Here, this guy going on a luxury fishing vacation. I mean, if you like to fish, then pay for it yourself, man. That's what a lot of normal people do in this country. You just can't be going out here saying that there was absolutely nothing that was exchanged. Nobody on earth, no normal person on earth, none, gets to go on a trip like this.
Yeah, you think they're just doing this out of the goodness of their heart because they really like you, because you're just a nice guy? You think that's why they had you fly on the private jet to the luxury fishing vacation? I mean, I don't think there are a lot of people who are getting that opportunity when there isn't some kind of a quid pro quo. And just the appearance is a problem. The last thing I'll say about this is, it's insane and disgraceful that there is no Supreme Court standard of ethics.
Yes.
every other federal court judge has to abide by a code of ethics. Random low-level government employees have to abide by a code of ethics that prevents them from taking even small dollar gifts from anyone because they're worried about actual and the appearance of corruption. John Roberts has basically stonewalled on all of this, refused to go testify to Congress about some of the revelations with regard to Justice Thomas and the concerns more broadly about corruption on the court. They have shown certainly no interest in having Congress get involved. In fact, Roberts has sort of insinuated he doesn't think that Congress even has the power to regulate them, which I think is, I mean, it just shows like their arrogance in the way that they really don't see themselves as a co-equal branch. And to be honest with you, they're not treated like a co-equal branch. They really are these sort of like unaccountable supremacist branch of the United States government. And if you poll the American people, like, should Supreme Court justices have to abide by a code of ethics? It's like 90-some% that are like, obviously they should. So it's, at the very least, complete insanity that there are not official guidelines for when you recuse and what your expectations are, what your moral and ethical expectations are if you are sitting on this court, which is one of the most powerful forces in the entire world, actually, not just in the country.
No, I agree with you completely.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.